When you listen or read about successful people, oftentimes what you will come across is conflicting pieces of advice. From what it seems, it almost seems like they have the complete opposite opinion on things. One person's telling you to do this, and the other person is telling you the exact opposite. So, how do you reconcile this, or how do you interpret this? Well, most people interpret this as, well, I just have to choose the one I agree with more, or the one I think is more reputable or more successful or more likely right. But I would say that oftentimes when you really look at it, not always, sometimes they just have different opinions, but sometimes depending on the topic they're talking about, it's actually a nuanced topic and they're both right, but they're talking about slightly different things based off their life experiences and their specific way of getting around things. So when you really break it down, you can start looking at, well, which one applies to me more, and how exactly do these things differ in terms of what they're talking about. So let me give you a real life example. So Sarah Blakely, she's the billionaire behind Spanx. It's a very well-known brand if you're a lady. She said something along the lines of, well, you shouldn't really listen to other people's opinions. You shouldn't let them influence you. You should keep it under wraps. And you don't want them to hold you back or keep you from achieving your goals, and avoid other people's opinions about your product and service. Now, that's not exactly how she said it. It's just how I summarized it, basically. And there's another chain of thought by a bunch of other entrepreneurs, some that you've never heard of, but they've made millions of dollars. There's this one who he made a few multi-million dollar businesses by selling Apple accessory products. So we're talking iPhone speakers, things like that. And one of his pieces of advice, and it's not just him, but there's others, Elon Musk, billionaire behind Tesla and SpaceX, he says something similar as well. The basic idea is that you want to get as much feedback as possible from every single person, especially your friends and your family. And the reason being, you want to bounce ideas off of them and figure out realistically if your product or service is actually good, because you may be delusional, and if they can tell you the real thing, it will help you a lot. So from the surface, it looks like these are two conflicting pieces of advice. But already, based off just how I explained it, you can kind of start telling, well, is that really the case? Or is it a bit of a nuance here? And even for me, I guess on some level subconsciously, I'm already starting to break it into these nuanced differences, which has probably already seeped through in how I presented the two pictures. So how do you reconcile these two? Well, what you can do is just really look into them and look at the situations behind them. And again, it's not just these two examples. There's many entrepreneurs who have this exact debate. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, there's a lot of investors on Shark Tank who have this piece of advice as well. They're on the side of, yeah, we should avoid family and friends because they don't want to hurt your feelings. And therefore, if you're trying to sell it to your friends or family or show off your products to them, of course they're going to like it. I think his name's Damien. He's the guy behind Fubu. He says that a lot. And he says if you can only sell it to your friends and family, then it's not a product, because your friends and family are going to buy it because they like you, not because the product or service is good. So how do you reconcile these two? Well, again, for Sarah Blakely, if you read how she was, she went through her business, long story short, she was told a lot that you can't do this. You cannot get through with this. And she kept her business on the down low while she had a full-time salesperson job. And then over time, over many years, she grew it into this billion-dollar business. after many doors were slammed in her face, many rejections across the phone, in person, from factories who she tried to get to create her product. So in her situation, it's more about, and again, this is just my interpretation, perhaps it's not true, but she her message was about not getting rejected and letting people saying it's not true make you believe it's not true, because there are times when other people are wrong. Perhaps your product and service has a lot of legs and everyone's doubting you until you actually try, and then you get out there and start selling and so forth. So there's that. There's those situations where that product and service will make it, but everyone's thinking the opposite, and you need that tenacity to hold on. On the flip side, the other camp, you'll find that it's not really a conflicting piece of advice when you realize that, okay, as far as those people who actually bounce their products off with their friends and family and strangers, think Elon Musk, in reality, what he's doing is getting constructive feedback and being realistic to adapt or change his product to better suit the customers, because the customers are going to buy it, and that's what really matters. And so there's a difference between giving up and just getting realistic feedback, being a realist. And so for him, some products are truly garbage, and certain times being realistic and realizing it's trash can work. You don't want to fall into the camp of the American Idol crazy guy, the guy who thinks he can sing, but everything he sings is off tone. And even if he trains for another 100 years singing with the best singing coach in the world, he's not going to be a good singer. He just doesn't have the talent. But he's so delusional that no matter what anyone tells him, the judges and everything, he's still trying to pursue that. So it gets into a fuzzy area when you start trying to figure out, well, is this a case where I'm completely delusional, or is this a case where I'm one of those entrepreneurs who keeps going despite many failures and rejections and a lot of people telling me I can't make it, and eventually succeeding. So it kind of gets fuzzy there. But even for Elon Musk, he may scrap things that really realistically aren't good, but it's really about feedback. And as far as tenacity, he holds true to it, and he goes exactly in line with what Sarah Blakely does, which is surprising. He confirms what Sarah Blakely does because he's very tenacious. There was a large period of time when he bounced ideas about starting his companies, his electronic car company and his space company, with his friends. And guess what all his friends said? They said, don't do it. It's a horrendous idea, to the point where some of his friends, who, by the way, were very reputable people who had made millions of dollars starting their own entrepreneurial businesses, these guys were sending montage videos to Elon Musk showing him how horrible the car industry was and how horrible the space industry was and how the chances of success are close to zero, and telling him you shouldn't even try it. And guess what? He still did it. He didn't listen to everyone who was telling him that it wouldn't work. In fact, I don't think there's one person who said, you have a shot at this. I think you should go for it. And so when you really look at the details of these things, is there really any true conflict? Again, this is just my interpretation of things, which could be completely wrong. So take it with a grain of salt. But as always, like and subscribe. Hopefully you will stick around for another video. I will see you in my next video if you do. And thanks so much for watching. Oh yes, one last thing. I am starting an email newsletter. It will be like a monthly email, maybe weekly or semi-weekly, bi-weekly I think is the term, every 2 weeks, depending on how much you want it. And I will be trying to send out exclusive content in the form of articles or exclusive video content for you guys. It may be informal, it could just be a fun vlog, or it could be something more serious, depending on what you guys want. So let me know in the comments if you want anything specific in that email newsletter. You can sign up by clicking the link in the description to that sign up for the email newsletter. All you have to do is enter your email and you're signed up. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching.